So going back to the endoplasmic reticulum, which again, the outer membrane of the nuclear envelope basically continues on to form the endoplasmic reticulum. So we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is this one here in this image, the pink. And it's rough because it has ribosomes all along the outside of it, or along the external surface. What the rough ER does is it manufactures all secreted proteins, and so it's going to make the proteins that the cell needs to release, and it's also going to make the proteins that are integrated into the membrane, and it makes phospholipids for the plasma membrane of the cell. The smooth ER, which is pictured here next to the rough ER, does not have any ribosomes on the external surface, hence it's called smooth. And depending on what cell you're in, it may have different jobs. In the liver, it is involved with lipid and cholesterol metabolism, breaking those down and using them for energy production. They are also involved in breaking down glycogen, and in the liver and in the kidneys, the smooth ER helps detoxify drugs, pesticides, and carcinogens. In other cells, the smooth ER is also responsible for making steroid-based hormones. In intestinal cells, the smooth ER is involved with absorbing, synthesizing, and transporting fats, which fats, because they're hydrophobic, tend to get a little different pathway than proteins and carbohydrates. In skeletal and cardiac muscle, you'll find that the smooth ER is involved in storing and releasing calcium. Now the ribosomes, which we can find on the outside or the external layer of the rough endoplasmic reticulum, their job is to hold the protein and the ribosomal RNA. Remember that ribosomal RNA is produced in the nucleolus or nucleolus. And the other main job of the ribosome is to produce proteins. So protein synthesis is going to happen with the ribosomes. And we will see that in the process of translation. They're heavily involved in translation, which is protein synthesis. The Golgi apparatus, which sometimes people think looks like a set of pancakes, this is kind of like the postal service of the cell. It's going to take everything that's been made, the proteins, the steroids, what have you, it's going to package them up and send it off in vesicles. So essentially, you can see that here in this schematic on the bottom. It's taking the proteins, packaging them up, putting postage on them, and out they go through the vesicles to be delivered to the extracellular fluid. Lysosomes are little pockets within, they're kind of like little mini cells, I guess, but they're little pockets within the cell that have digestive enzymes. So they can have a lot of roles with those digestive enzymes. When cells take in bacteria or viruses or any kind of toxin, then the lysosomes can effectively absorb those bad guys, if you will, or things that we don't want, and use those enzymes to basically break them down. And they also contain enzymes that will break down organelles that are not functioning anymore. Our cells do not last forever. Things do go through the process of degradation and death, and so the lysosomes help break down organelles that are no longer working or are not functioning appropriately or efficiently enough. They also break down and release glycogen, which is our glucose store, so that helps give us free-floating glucose. They also destroy cells that are not useful anymore. That's called autolysis. There's other types of small pockets within a cell called peroxisomes. And these guys contain oxidases and catalases that can also break down. They help in detoxifying harmful or toxic substances, and they can neutralize free radicals that can be dangerous to the cell or to the body. Another very, very important organelle that we're going to talk about in the next unit from the get-go is the mitochondria. You may have heard of the mitochondria as the powerhouse, and that is because this is where the most ATP is made. And so we will spend time when we're looking at cellular metabolism in the next unit talking about how ATP is made in the mitochondria. So this is a double membrane structure. It looks kind of funny with all of these infoldings that are called cristae. Again, this is going to provide most of the cell's ATP through aerobic cellular respiration. And mitochondria are so busy making ATP and so important, they actually have their own DNA and RNA. Centrosome is a bunch of the microtubules that are formed almost in a circle, and they're called the cell center near the nucleus. They generate microtubules, and as I said before, they're involved a lot in mitosis, which is cell division, so they help organize that mitotic spindle. They contain centrioles, which are going to be microtubules that, again, form this ring and make a small tube. Last but not least, in the cell, there are inclusions. And inclusions are basically just little sections within the cell that store products. You could think of it as a storage unit. They store products or foreign matter in the cytoplasm for the cell. Some of these products could be accumulated cell products like glycogen, pigments, oil droplets. Foreign bodies, they sometimes store viruses, intracellular bacteria, dust particles when a phagocytosis cell takes those in. And that can help for holding on to activate the immune system. These guys are never in a unit membrane, and they're not essential for cell survival, but our cells do contain them nonetheless, and so you should know about them.